All right. It's a continuation. We're going into Matthew chapter 14. The death of John the Baptist. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Jesus and said unto his servants, This is the John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his wife. His brother Philip's wife. Philip died. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me the John the Baptist's head and a charger. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given to her. And he said, he sent and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it, and went and told Jesus. Now, so Herod didn't want to do it. He feared what the people would do. And he might not have, he liked John until John told him, hey, you're in error. So John was not in fear of the king, even though the king could kill him. He still told him, hey, that's unlawful. You're going against God's law. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that. So Herod didn't have a problem with John until John did that. Okay? So called him out for being in error. Now, also, to this day, there are two people, two religions that actually say they have John the Baptist. I believe Islam says they have like the head, and they pray to John the Baptist. I think it's almost like a victory over Christ kind of thing. And then the Catholics say they have like fingers and stuff like that in the body. Who knows if they're actually John the Baptist? And if you want to learn more about that, Walter does a study, not a full study on that, but he does mention it and all this other stuff in one of the countless videos. I'm not going to tell you which one. You just go and watch a whole bunch of them and you'll find it sooner or later. Anyways, so why would somebody want John the Baptist's body, skeletal remains? And why would they pray to it? Unless they are in opposition to God and they count it as a victory over Christ. Just me, my thoughts. I could be wrong. However, moving on. The 5,000 fed. When Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. He went by boat, they went by cities, by the foot, and he separated. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude, again, more multitudes following him. And this is after the unbelief of Nazareth, and was moved with compassion towards them, and he healed their sick. So he still loves us, and he's still going to heal us. Even the people that don't even really believe him, they have a desire to be healed, and they just don't know what to do. God has compassion for that. He loves us. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitudes away, that they may go into their villages and buy themselves victuals. Let's look into that word, victuals. What does that actually entail? All right, 14, 15. 14, 15. Victuals. From the base, food, especially ceremonial articles allowed or forbidden by the Jewish law, meat, victuals. From the base, G977. A reduplicated and prolonged form of an obsolete primitive word, perhaps causative of to eat. All right, so tell him to go away and get some food. Yeah. Anyways, but Jesus said unto them, they need not depart, give ye them to eat. And they sang unto him, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fish. He said, bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitudes. And they did all eat, and were filled, and they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Jesus walks on the sea. The straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves from the wind, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, is it a spirit? And they cried out for fear. Now, if you're not in faith, you're in fear. If you're not in faith in Jesus Christ, faith in God, you are in fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, come. And when Peter had come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and began to sink. And he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Why did you doubt? I'm right here. It's a faith issue. And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, now also this is an example. They worshipped Jesus. Okay? And it says in the law, God says, put no one before me. Don't worship anybody other than me. Not me, but God. Don't worship anyone but God. So if they're worshiping Jesus, that means he is God. Okay? Because he didn't come to abolish the law. He came to uphold and fulfill the law and to make, the law known to all. So, of course, Jesus is going to be following the law. So why would he break it if he wasn't God? So that right there says he's God. There's countless others. But they worshipped him, saying, Oh, of a truth, thou art the Son of God. They knew They knew and they worshipped him. He was God, is God. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all the country round about, and brought unto him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. 15. What defiles a man? Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your traditions? So they try and attack God's disciples, and he says, well, why are you doing that? Don't you think that's silly? For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, It is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites, well did Esaias prophesy of you, saying, all right, here's more prophecy. This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. A lot of this going on. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men, not of God, of men. All right. Now what? 9, so 15:9. 15:9. Vain. Accusative case of a derivative of the base through the idea of tentative manipulation, that is unsuccessful search, or else of punishment folly, that is adverbially to no purpose, in vain. So that's what vain means. Just no real good will come of it. It's pointless. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. So they call themselves Christians, followers of Christ, but they worship in vain because they have their own set of beliefs and standards and doctrines of men. So they don't follow God's law, they follow man's law and recreated it, but they sprinkle some names on it called Christianity, but it's not Christianity. And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defile a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? Did you know that you offended them? Now, it's just so funny. The disciples, they want to believe, and they love him, and they worship him, and they know he's God. They do. But then they go and they ask these questions. Did you know that you offended them? Of course he knew. So what does that mean? What kind of characteristics, what kind of insight is God telling us in the Bible about these disciples? They want to know, they want to get better, but and they believe, but they don't believe. They're not fully there yet. They're immature in Christ. All right. I mean, they were fishermen. It's not like they were they weren't like scholars. God pulled them. Said, yes, you are what I want and what I need, and you will do good. All right. So they asked, did you know that they were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall root up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Oh, man. What a way with words, huh? Then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. And Jesus said, are ye also yet without understanding? Do not ye yet understand that whosoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast out into the draught? The draught. The only thing I know about that is something that I'm not sure actually makes sense to this. All right, so 15, 17. Draught. From a compound and the base of a place of sitting apart, that is a draught. So sitting apart. That is cast into the apart. Set apart. All right. But those things which proceedeth out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adultery, fornications, theft, false witness, and blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashen hands defileth not a man. The faith of a Canaanite woman. Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coasts of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. She didn't give up. She was like, oh, you're going to ignore me? Well, I'm going to get in your face. Help me. Get closer. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to the dogs. And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, and be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. And Jesus departed from thence and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And great multitudes came unto him. Some more people. So Jesus is trying to get some alone time to pray, and then these great multitudes, they don't care. They don't care. It's all about them. No respect. Hey, what's he doing? Oh, he's praying. He wants to be alone. Yeah, but I have needs, you know. Don't you know I have needs? I need stuff. I'm going to interrupt what he's doing. I need to be healed. That's what it sounds like to me. Like they just don't care what Jesus wants, what his needs are. Do you, in a relationship, does that work good? That if only one person gets what they want and the other person, there's no connection, there's no love, there's no respect. Does that relationship work? No. Came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many other, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. He still healed them, though. Even though it was disrespectful, I feel. He still loves us, and he's a very strong and big, powerful God. Insomuch that the multitudes wondered. And when they saw the dumb to speak, and the maimed to behold, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, and they glorified the God of Israel. The 4,000 fed, so now it's 4,000. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat, and will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples said unto him, Whence should we have so much bread in the wilderness as to fill so great a multitude? And still they question. This is just so crazy to me. He already fed 5,000. They were there. They know he can do it. There should have been one of them. You would think that one of these disciples had been like, oh, well, I got a piece of bread. I got a crumb. Here's a crumb. I know you could feed everyone here and still have then some. Here you go, Jesus. I'll go bring it to the multitudes. But no. They were like, well, how are we going to feed these people? Are you serious? It can be frustrating sometimes. But then again, you got to look at our unbelief. Day in, day out, there's always going to be something where why we fail. We have the same failings. It's just different cases. Lose a job. Oh, what am I going to do? I'm stressing out. Well, what about God is a mighty, powerful God. Don't you think that he already knows what's going to happen? Put your faith in that. We fail just the same way as them, just different circumstances. And God shows himself time and time again. So, and the disciples said unto him, We don't have bread to feed these people. And Jesus said unto them, How many loaves have ye? And they said, 7. And a few little fishes. So they even said, well, we only have a little bit of fishes. Little ones. We don't have big ones. As if it mattered. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes and gave thanks and brake them and gave to his disciples and the disciples to the multitudes. And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full. So there was 7 loaves of bread. There was 7 baskets left. He gave thanks. He broke bread, gave it to the disciples. The disciples. So what is this? What is this meaning? So God has the life. God has what we need to survive. God gave the bread to the disciples. So he gave the word, the life-giving word to the people that would listen and understand and talk and teach. That's who he gave the word to, the bread to. Now, Jesus didn't give it to the multitudes. He didn't say, oh, okay, disciples, sit down there. I'll give it to everybody. No, he gave it to the disciples. The disciples therein gave to the great multitudes. That is very important. He gave thanks, he broke it, he gave it to the disciples, and the disciples gave it to the multitudes, and they all ate and were filled. And they took up the broken meat and the 7 baskets. that were left. And they did eat were 4,000 besides men, and besides women and children. And he sent away the multitude and took ship and came into the coast of Magdala. So before God sent him away, he filled everybody. All right, chapter 16. Pharisees ask for a sign. So more people that don't believe asking for a sign. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came and tempting, desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. If you're God, show me a sign. He answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times? A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed. Will we know when judgment will come? It will come like a thief in the night. Okay? And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Jesus said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. Which when Jesus perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves, because ye have brought no bread? Do ye not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets you took up? Why are you wondering and getting stressed out about stuff that makes no sense? Don't you understand God will always provide? He gives to the birds what they need. They don't go and stress out about it. They get what they need to survive. He does that for us as well. Why? And you've already seen it. So God is like, why are you stressing on this issue? Don't you know that I will provide for you? O ye of little faith. Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets ye took up. So he mentions both of the cases. So they have 2 cases here to go off of, and they're still wondering about bread. Oh, we don't have enough bread. We forgot the bread. You don't have the bread. Why did you forget the bread? It was your duty. No, it was yours. Yeah, all that stuff. How is it that ye do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that ye should be aware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understood how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of the bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Peter's confession of faith. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea, Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I am? The Son of Man am? Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. And they don't know who you are, really. You're one of them. There, and even still to this day, Islam, they don't say that Jesus was God. They say that, he was just one of the prophets. He was just a prophet. So even then, that was the same kind of thing. He's a prophet. He's sent by God, or whatever. I don't know which prophet he is, but he was, he's not God. They weren't saying that. And Jesus answered and said unto them, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, For flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. All right, so a lot of denominations, they follow Peter or Paul and all that. Always the. All right, so let's see here. 16. I want to look up what gate. I want to find that out because gates are very important. Jesus is the gate. No one gets past him. The gate. And this one's speaking of the gate of hell. 16:18. An entrance. That doesn't help me. I knew that. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whosoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whosoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. Future events foretold. From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go into Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised again the third day, as prophesied. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him. All right. And rebuke, to tax upon, that is, censor, admonish, by implication, forbid. So Peter was telling him, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. No way. You're not going to. No, you're not going. Saying, be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. So he's telling him, you're not going to go and do that. You're not going to go and die. But he turned and said unto Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men. The reason Peter said, you're not going to go and do that, is because they wanted him around. Why would they want their king to go and die? They were looking at it at an earthly point of view and not God's point of view. They thought that he was going to be king and rule over Jerusalem, the ruling, reigning king. They weren't looking through God and what God had in store. They were looking inwardly and selfishly. Well, you're going to be our king. We've got Roman rule over us, and you're going to come and we're going to be our own nation again, and you're going to be our king and set us free, right? That's what they weren't looking at the bigger thing. And so he was telling him, you're not going to go and do that. And he's fulfilling prophecy. Obviously, he doesn't know his prophecy. Okay? So he's telling him, you're not going to do it. And he says, he didn't know what he was saying, really. Then Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So, take up your cross. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So if you're going to follow Christ, you have to deny self and your lustful desires. What God requires isn't what you're gonna want. It might conflict. Which one is higher? Who has authority? Is it your heart? Is it your lust? Or is it God and what He desires for you? And there's going to be a point, many times, the right and the wrong one. And one of them will be, this is God's will, and this one's, well, for example, it could be a woman. I really like this woman. Is she a follower of Christ? Does she read her Bible? No, but maybe I can convert her. Well, then you're unequally yoked. You don't do that. Well, maybe no, maybe stuff. God will bring you the woman that is good for you. Have patience. Wait for God's time. That's just an example. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father and with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, and I want to say verily means seriously. Seriously, I say unto you, Seriously, I say unto you, there will be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. All right. Alan, if you don't understand what that means, you should. That's pretty straightforward. Anyways, the transfiguration. Hold on. We'll do chapter 17 on the next video.